The FAA is saying that the radio tower's lights were not working, which could have been the deciding factor in this fatal crash.
Well, you mentioned accidents earlier. I'm actually at one right now. I spoke to the driver. No injuries. They're feeling fine, just a little bit shaken up.
But I want you guys to get a closer look. So here, this is where investigators believe the fire started, right at this trailer.
I'm no Nancy Kerrigan, but I'm doing my best here. Again, we are at the Numerica Skate Ribbon here in Riverfront Park. It opens up at 11 o'clock today. Debris that actually looks like this, that's where the fire is catching.
But we wanted to see by how much the homeowner extended their property. Just over 16 feet.
Right behind me here, hotspots are still active on his property.
We've heard dozens of stories over the last couple of days of families who have just lost everything, completely devastated by this fire.
You can see it behind me. It's a much different scene than when we arrived earlier today. The windows are all boarded up. You can see there's tons of debris outside of the home. Today, the defense continued their efforts to try and convince the jury that Kendi Howard, in fact, died by suicide.
You can see this building is for lease, and it's not always sunnier on the other side of the street, where you can see another building is also for lease. Developing story, 2 people are dead after a crash in Billings Friday night. Mo's is in my house, and I've had a bad day. They should be afraid. I'm demolishing them. Absolutely. Jury is convicting a man from Shepherd, Montana, after accusing him of threatening the former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
You live in a house that's not livable.
Phil has lived all over the nation, but says something was calling him back to his home in the inland Northwest.
I always wanted to be up here. This is a dream.
In 2021, he found his dream home with a winding driveway offering panoramic views of everything the region has to offer.
We wanted to do a remodel, make it our home, do it the way we wanted to do it.
He heard this ad on the radio.
Whatever you need for your home or commercial building, from a simple repair to a major remodel, call the Penguin Guys.
He reached out to the Penguin Guys and spoke to the owner, Sterling Scholar, in March of this year.
Very presentable, very personable, exuded some business sense and professionalism.
Phil says he shopped around a bit for other construction companies, but
The only full comprehensive plan we got was from Penguin Guys.
Scholar quoted him $140,000 for the remodel.
Soup to nuts, do the whole project beginning to end.
Phil signed the contract in April. The excuses came shortly after as to why demolition couldn't start immediately.
Sterling is kind of an excuse factory.
The demolition was finished in early July, and Phil paid Scholar the first installment. That was when he says the red flags continued to wave.
They were going up. I had given him quite a bit of money, hadn't reaped any return.
The second check was for materials.
He was supposed to buy materials. He didn't buy materials.
And finally, a third check.
And I don't know what I was thinking when I gave him that third check, but I did give it to him.
Altogether,
Total around $80,000.
Phil says he reached the end of his rope.
So finally, I just told him, hey, put up or shut up. You know, you got to get this work done before winter.
With just the demolition done, this is how the top floor of his home was left.
It's just not real comfortable.
The basement of his home
This is how Sterling left it.
This is how Sterling left it.
still isn't done.
This is what it looks like.
Sheila Crump from 18 Build has taken over the project.
I actually was the subcontractor that came in and did all the demo work here.
She says she worked for Scholar
There was times that we didn't get paid.
and says he owes her close to $8,000.
Losing that amount of money, it might not be a lot to a bigger company, but to me, that's risking me losing my home.
Took their savings.
Phil says the work Scholar did only totaled about $13,000.
$67,000 has gone into thin air.
And he wasn't the only one.
My yard is a pit.
That's Christine Safner. She says she gave Scholar a check for close to $40,000.
All I wanted was a porch. That is it.
She says Scholar offered to refund her the money, but she says she hasn't heard from him since November.
How do you get blood from a turnip? He's not going to pay us back.
Nonstop Local reached out to over a dozen subcontractors and former customers of Sterling's. Each had similar experiences. And when you add it all up, Sterling owes over $200,000 for work not completed and unpaid invoices.
This is Sterling.
Hi, Sterling. This is Demetra Maragos calling from.
Sterling agreed to speak with me. He says
Yep.
he's tried to reach out.
I've tried to be in communication with as many of them that have reached out to me.
He says the money is tied up in other jobs.
We do have some people that owe us money that don't want to pay us.
And added, he's working to return the money owed.
Well, we're trying to get jobs done so we can get paid.
But that may be a challenge. I looked up Penguin Guys on the Labor and Industries website. It shows their license was suspended in November. I asked Sterling how he planned to get people their money back.
I'm doing other things in different industries to make money and get things going.
We reached out to the Spokane Police Department. Detectives tell me they're investigating Penguin Guys and confirmed there are more than a dozen cases. Sterling doesn't sound fazed.
If I have to face any kind of criminal investigation, then I'll face it. If I'm found guilty, then I'll do the time.
There's a lot of other people out there, I'm sure.
For Phil and many of the other victims, they're doubtful their money will be returned.
The biggest thing is that he doesn't get any more victims.
The Spokane Police Department says the investigation into the Penguin Guys is still open. Police say if you have had a similar experience with the company, you should notify Crime Check. But for now in the newsroom, Demetra Maragos, Nonstop Local.
We're all on the same ground. We just want to build a home and live.
Steve Uhouse barely escaped the Oregon Road fire. The fire destroyed the home Steve had lived in for 50 years.
Nobody knows how to describe it. But a victim.
Eager for a fresh start, he and his wife Jean-Marie settled in Newport in Pend Oreille County.
These are good people in this community here. We just wanted to be a part of it.
But what they didn't know, that over a year later,
We'll start a new life here, and we haven't been able to do that.
they still wouldn't have a home.
Feels a second loss without a fire.
The Uhouses bought 2 neighboring lots, one for their home, the other for their septic system.
We went from one lot of devastation to another lot of devastation.
They started work immediately and dug a 10-foot hole for their septic system. But when Northeast Tri-County health officials came,
They did their first analysis, failed us.
officials told them they would have to dig deeper than required. They would have to dig 12-foot holes.
I got 2 of them.
Twice.
I got 2 money pits.
Failed us.
The Uhouses say at this point they've spent close to $1,000 on inspections.
The roadblocks wouldn't be bad, but every roadblock costs you $300.
Only for a third inspection to be denied.
The ground's not going to change. It hasn't changed since those have been dug since the middle of April. We could be living here right now.
This husband and wife, who have been through so much already, say they're confused because just on the other side of their property line is a neighbor septic system.
I can stand right here and see a septic system. And his clay is different than my clay.
On Northeast Tri-County Health's third visit, they said the Uhouses would have to install monitoring tubes and wait until the spring of 2025 for a wet season evaluation.
You want us to wait a year? Another year? That's 2 years without a home.
That's when their community came together.
The property's the same as everybody else's. Give the guy septic.
That's Leo Robinson from Leo's Excavating, who has been installing septic systems for the last 35 years.
We've never been denied a system until this year.
Robinson says part of the preliminary work is digging holes to ensure there's no groundwater. And for the work of the Uhouses,
Our holes were here, and there's no water in them.
proof he believes that the requirements for a septic tank in Pend Oreille County were being met.
The Pend Oreille River Valley's always had really challenging soils. They have a lot of clay along that river valley.
That's John Ness, the Environmental Health Director for Northeast Tri-County Health District. He says in Pend Oreille County,
We do see where more occurrences of where the soils are really challenging for septic systems.
Ness says they were denied the first time because the type of topsoil was not suitable for a septic system. The second was because of modeling.
What we're seeing in the soils, though, is modeling, and that's an indication that there's seasonal groundwater in the soil.
I believe this whole thing stems down to they don't understand soils.
That's Gerald Whitehouse, a licensed designer with the state of Washington and a septic installer for 30 years.
I don't believe that this is current modeling. I do believe there's probably more relic modeling or precipitation modeling.
Which could have happened up to a century ago. We asked Ness about this.
There is the possibility of that it's historical modeling, or relic as they say.
White House says the holdup seems to be unnecessary.
In my opinion, really no reason why this couldn't be done, put in now.
But officials say they have ground to stand on.
What we've seen historically is the high groundwater levels occur in earlier spring. And so when we do our wet season evaluations, it covers the months from March, April, and May.
We also asked Northeast Tri-County Health about the neighboring septic system that was approved just on the other side of their property line.
That neighboring property had that 1 foot of soil.
Ness says the U-House's biggest fear of not being approved, depending on the results come the spring, could be a reality.
That is a possibility, unfortunately.
I'm just getting upset. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
But for the couple who has already lost everything, they say they're not ready to put this to rest.
You know, it's just a good community. We're just not going to give up.
Now the U-Houses say they will wait for that spring inspection and are hoping for the best. In the meantime, John Ness with the Northeast Tri-County Health District says that if people are thinking of buying a property to build in Pend Oreille County, they should ask for a soil sample as part of the inspection. But for now, in the newsroom, Demetra Maragos, Nonstop Local.